Hi, this is Simon from writtenlegalenglish.com and welcome to this video where I'm going to give you my suggested answer and how I got there of the competition text that I asked you to have a look at last week, which was competition week 7. Just to remind you, this is the text I asked you to redraft. The county sent an inspector who made observations as to the condition of the sidewalk and concluded that it was uneven. And just to remind you of the criteria, to think about what that main message is in that sentence and then communicate it using as few words as possible. Okay, so how did I go about it? Well, whenever I'm thinking about a basic main message, there's a couple of different ways that I can think about it. But one of the main methods that I use is Richard Whittick's excellent idea of glue words and working words. Now, I've gone into detail on this in other videos, so I'm not going to do it here. Needless to say, a glue word is a word that we need to stick words together to build a sentence. And a working word is a word that communicates the message of that sentence. Now, I broke it down like this, and you can see that the working words I've highlighted in bold orange. And if I just read out the working words, then we'll get an idea of what the sentence is about. So, county sent inspector, made observations, condition, sidewalk, concluded it uneven. Now, it's kind of that pidgin English, but if we just read out the working words, we get the general idea of what's going on. Now, the problem with this is that there are more glue words, 11 of them, than there are working words. And when you've got more glue words than working words, you know that your sentence needs to be redrafted. There are just too many words going on there. Okay, so now that we've identified those words, let's look at them in a little bit more detail. So, we've got some verbs there. We've got send, make, and conclude. And I've put observe in brackets because observations is a nominalization and it might be hiding a verb. So that's why I've put observe in brackets. And then we've got other words that might help. We've got condition, sidewalk or pavement, which are both nouns, and uneven, which is adjective. And of course, I haven't included potential personal nouns, for example, county or inspector. So we've got those words, and I've presented them in two different ways. One, glue words and working words, and the other way you can just see is verbs and other words. And just thinking about that, we've got to try and unpack that and build that same message using much fewer words. Well, bearing in mind that it's always best to communicate wherever it's possible using subject, verb, object, in other words, the active voice. Let's think what our subject might be. Well, a subject probably is going to be county or inspector or a combination of both. Then we've got to choose our verb. What would be the appropriate verb? So the county inspector or the county or the inspector, what did they do? And then you've got to think of the object, which is, well, what are they affecting by what they are doing? Which is what the object is. It's the thing that's being affected by the person doing something. Well, if we think about that, and I know I've made that sound far too more complex than it needs to have sounded, but if we do that, we might come up with an idea like this. The county inspector concluded the sidewalk is uneven. That would be my simple sentence. Now there are words which I've removed, and the context might determine that those words are actually needed. For example, talking about the process of making observations could be important. It could be important to talk about the condition. Possibly. There is always a context to say that some of the words I've taken out might actually be needed, and I understand that argument. But largely speaking, when we actually think about the message we really want to communicate, most of the time it's going to be something simple like this, which is why this is my suggested answer, and the person who got closest to this won the prize last week. Okay, guys, if you want to have another go at redrafting a text to get access to my online course, you'll get an opportunity tomorrow. So I'll see you then.